the representative of Indonesia, and I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, we'd like to thank our Indonesian colleagues for their active and fruitful work in May, and also to congratulate you on the beginning of your presidency of the Security Council, wish you every success and hope for a calm month in June in political terms. We thank the Special Representative of the Secretary-General, François Losenifal, for his views on the situation in the Central African sub-region. Russia supports the activities of the UN office in Central Africa as an important instrument for preventive diplomacy. We share the thesis that the challenges facing the countries of the sub-region are complex in character. In this context, it's particularly important that the regional players themselves set the tone in overcoming crises and settling conflicts. For our part, we are ready to support these efforts. Mr. President, we think the Central African region is key from the point of view of fighting terrorism in Africa. The penetration of radical and terrorist elements into Central Africa is accompanied by illegal movements of weapons, drugs, and income from minerals. We take a positive view of regional efforts to develop coordinated approaches to the fight against any manifestation of terrorism. A good example here is the activities of regional multinational armed forces. It's very important to ensure they have adequate financing to carry out joint operations between the states in the Lake Chad region to pursue and eradicate fighters in border zones. We note that with the support of the international community, certain successes have been achieved in fighting Boko Haram. Nonetheless, the group still maintains its military potential and is capable of carrying out spectacular raids. The activity of Boko Haram has continued in Chad, including in border regions with Niger, Nigeria, Cameroon, where the extremists are attacking civilians, UN personnel and NGOs, as well as the checkpoints of Chadian military. There are also serious concerns because of the significant flow into Boko Haram of foreign terrorists, including fighters from Islamic State. According to some views, during the course of 2018, the ranks of Boko Haram were filled with 2,000 new recruits. We are ready to continue our energetic work in different formats to overcome the terrorist threat on the African continent. We attach particular attention to identifying sources of financing for local terrorists and also their contacts with other international radical groups. Mr. President, Russia closely monitors the situation in CAR. We support the efforts of President Touadéra to have an inclusive political dialogue, to carry out speedy security sector reform, and to build capacity in the armed forces. On the 6th of February, a political agreement was signed for peace and reconciliation in CAR. This is an important starting point for further settlement of the situation in the country. For our part, we will continue to closely accompany the process of national reconciliation, coordinating efforts with everybody involved to find the paths towards normalization of the situation without hidden agendas. Among other factors for instability in the Central African region is piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Unfortunately, raids are continuing and attacks on international vessels, including where Russian sailors have been taken hostage. Our country has had positive experience in participating in international efforts to fight piracy in the northwest part of the Indian Ocean as part of the contact group on this fight off the coast of Somalia. We hope that this experience might be useful for resolving similar issues in the Gulf of Guinea, including in the context of possibly broadening the geographic mandate of the contact group to include the Gulf of Guinea. We are concerned by the ongoing activities of the Lord's Resistance Army. In the previous years, thanks to successful work by the armed forces of the region, the group was marginalized. However, as previously, it carries out robbing and plundering in isolated areas of CAR and DRC. The fight against this group should remain within the field of vision of Central African states. We hope that the concept worked out under the aegis of the Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS, to cut off this threat will bear fruit. Mr. President, we are following the development of the situation in Cameroon. The issue of the Anglophone provinces is not a new one. The division of former colonies without regard for religious, linguistic or ethnic differences has sowed the seeds of tension in a number of areas in Africa, including in Cameroon. We encourage all Cameroonian parties to exercise maximum restraint. Resolving domestic issues in Cameroon is possible only through going to the negotiating table and having a substantive national dialogue while observing human rights and guaranteeing the rule of law. In conclusion, Mr. President, in conclusion, I wish to recall that the challenges and threats which the Central African region is facing at the moment are inextricably linked, as are the states themselves. Destabilization of the situation in one country could shake the whole of the sub-region and could undermine security in neighbouring countries. Therefore, it's very important not to cross the line between prevention and meddling in domestic affairs. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation, and I'll now give